Okay, so today we're going to move on from multiplying to dividing decimals. But we're first going to start with division vocabulary review and estimating quotients. So grab your foldable out and open up to the dividing decimals section, and we'll start with long division vocabulary review. So there's two ways to write like a division problem traditionally. We have, like, for example, 3 divided by 1 equals 3, right? And then we also have, actually I'm going to change that. I don't like using the same number twice. Confuses me. So let's do 10 divided by 2 equals 5. Or you could write it, and this is always confusing for us, 10 divided by 2, so I put 10 in the house, and 2 does the dividing, and 5 is the answer. So there are different ways of these. All of these terms have a vocabulary word associated with it. Just like you have your whole body, and you have an arm and a leg and an eyeball, and a hip and a wrist, and all the different parts to your body. You also have different parts to your division problem. So in a traditional, like a left to right style, you have 10 is getting divided, so it's the dividend. The dividend is always divided by the divisor, and the result is always the quotient. Okay. Dividend gets divided, so there's lots of D's in that one. The divisor is doing something, so it's the 2 is how many groups you're making, and the quotient is the answer to the division problem. And then when we write it in our little house style, you've got the dividend inside. The divisor is outside, and the quotient is on top. Okay, those will be on your test in a few days, so make sure you study which one's which. That way we can communicate with each other. Okay. If we need to review how to do long division, we can go ahead and pause the video and try a couple of these problems on the whiteboard. So estimating quotients is our plan today. Our objective is that we can estimate quotients using compatible numbers. Now that's a little different than when we were doing multiplication. We kind of did rounding rules. So we'll talk about what compatible numbers mean and what that looks like. The language objective is to make sure that you can use the terms divisor, dividend, and quotient. So compatible numbers are numbers, like in this instance, that are easy to divide. So say I've got the number 10. Things that are easy to divide 10 by are like 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 5 is another one. 10 is 1. 1 is 1, and so on. So those are all compatible numbers with 10. So we're going to try to pick numbers that are compatible, so we can kind of estimate where they are. And remember, estimating is just giving us a kind of a roadway to where we're going and not the actual answer. So for estimating quotients, the steps are, instead of using rounding rules, pick compatible numbers that are close to the numbers in your problem. Then use long division to find the estimate. So in this first problem here, we have 8 and 7/75 divided by 3. So we're going to go ahead and use compatible numbers. So kind of analyze what you have here. I have a decimal number and I have a whole number. Well, whole numbers are easy to work with. So can we find something to change 8 and 75/100 into that's compatible with 3? So what divided by 3? something close to 8 7/75. 9, right? So 9 divided by 3 is about 3. Okay, make sure to use your estimating squiggly lines. Okay, so we know that we've made an estimate. So in this case, our answer is about 3. So in your homework, I expect to see your actual writing here, and your wavy lines, and your answer, so that I can see what you're thinking in your head. I want you to go ahead and try A and B. Pause the video and take some time. Raise your hand when you've got your answer. One more example here. We've got 32 divided by 3 9/10. So now we have to look at 32, and that's my whole number, and I have a decimal here. So we have to decide, do we want to change them both, or is there, we leave 32 and change 3 9/10? So let's think about 32. What does 32 break down into? So kind of in my head over here, I'm thinking, well, I know that 32 is 16 times 2. I know that it's 4 times 8. Okay, and then I can see, look at there, 4 is really close to 3.9. So that means I can leave 32 there and just change 3.9. So I'm going to estimate that it's about 32 divided by 4, which is about 8. Okay, so you always have to do some of that extra thinking through your different multiples. And you can use your multiplication chart if you have trouble just thinking of them out of your head. You can look on your multiplication chart for numbers. Okay, pause the video, try 2 more. Lastly, always a word problem. So the average weight of a panther is 64 2 kilograms. The average weight of a coyote is 14 8/10 kilograms. About how many times heavier is the panther? Now this one gets everybody. You see the word times and they go, it's gotta be a multiplication problem. So 64 times 14. No. I want to know, I want my answer to be something times blah, blah, blah. So like, for example, I'm going to write my sentence first on this one. I want to know how many times heavier the panther is. So I'm going to kind of restate the sentence there, like we do in Mrs. Brandt's class. The panther is blank times heavier than the coyote. So your multiplication problem is actually in your answer, which means you have to do the opposite of times. If you see times in the question, you do the opposite. Okay, so we're going to divide, and now you have to decide which one divided by which one. Well, the panther is blank times heavier, so I want to divide panther by the coyote. So I'm going to go ahead and write 64 2/10 divided by 14 8/10. All right, now I've got 2 decimals, and they're not my favorite numbers, so I'm really going to have to think hard about what my compatible numbers are. So you kind of have to just start rolling through what you know. Well, 64.2 and then 14.8. I noticed that they're both kind of close to a 5, so I might start thinking about my 5s. So I might think, in my head, I might be thinking, what can I do with 65? Oh, 65, because I'm thinking about 5s now, and 15. Okay, so maybe I'll just think about my 15s. 15 plus 15 is 30, so 30 is a multiple of 15, and then 45, and then 60. I'm close, so that's pretty close. 64.2 is close to 64 2/10. And remember, we're using compatible numbers, not rounding rules. So I'm going to go ahead and choose 60 and 15 for my numbers. 60 divided by 15 is about, well, now you have to think back about how many 15s was that? It was 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 1 times 2 times 3 times 4. I skipped one, didn't I? No? 4. Okay, good. I have to check myself. See, now, I was thinking about that in my head when I could have just gone off to the side and done 15 times 4 and checked my work. 4 times 5 is 20. Here's 2. 4 plus 2 is 60. Ah, see, there, that was easier. Now I know. It's about 4. So now I know that a panther is about, oh, see, I missed a key word. About 4 times heavier. Don't make that mistake. You need your estimating word in there so you can tell your readers that you worked. It's not perfect. So the panther is about 4 times heavier than the coyote. So watch out for that when you're doing your homework tonight. Okay, homework, page 444. Don't forget today you're only estimating. So I expect to see compatible numbers, and I expect to see the word about or something like that in your homework answers. If you aren't estimating, I will ask you to do it again. I want you to practice estimating